guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking through wedding planning 101 and how to get started and just kind of the ins and outs of wedding planning, I guess you could say. I have honestly been kind of putting this video off and not doing it, and my husband's like, you need to do it, like, because I feel like I had a great wedding planning experience. So I'm doing it. I'm filming it right now for you guys. So just a disclaimer, I am obviously not an expert. I've only planned my own wedding. So there's that. And I think that's probably why I've been putting it off, because I'm like, I can't speak about this like an expert because I've only done it once. But anyways, I feel like I have some kind of insight because the summer that we got married, there was like 7 weddings, I think. So first off, if you're watching this video and you're newly engaged, congratulations. I hope this experience is wonderful for you and not stressful, or just not as stressful as it needs to be. And congratulations if you're soon to be engaged and that's why you're watching this video. Or if you've already been married and you're just wondering what my advice is, congratulations on your marriage. Anyways, so the first kind of tip slash thing I think is important to do is to kind of set your tone for your planning with the people who might be involved in planning, whether that's you and your mom, like it was for me, or you and your maid of honor, or maybe it's just you and your fiance, and that is totally great too. So whoever is involved in the wedding process, I would really encourage you guys to sit down and just kind of create a game plan, whether that's be the bride saying, hey, I want your guys' opinions, I want you guys to help, or maybe it's the bride just saying, hey, I just need moral support and I just need to bounce things off you, but in the end I want the say. For me and my mom, that was sitting down and just saying, this is gonna be a super fun process. We're not gonna let this be stressful or tear people apart in any way. Okay, I think most importantly, first you need to sit down with you and your husband if you guys are paying for the wedding, or maybe your parents are paying for the wedding, maybe it's just you, whoever is paying for the wedding. I would definitely suggest sitting down right away and making a rough budget. Sitting down and saying, okay, how much can I spend on this wedding? Because that's going to decide a lot of your decisions for you, sadly enough. If you have a huge budget, then that means you just get more free range. But I think that's so important to do first, because you don't want to do that after you've booked all your vendors and be like, oh my gosh, we're out of money. What are we gonna do? I think the budget is huge because that decides a lot of things for you. So make sure you have a budget put in place so that you can look at things accordingly. My budget personally was broken up into each item, so I was like, okay, I did my research before I made my budget. I'm also an accounting major, so budgets just kind of come naturally to me. So some people might have a hard time with budget, but it can just be really broad. Do your research around the area that you're wanting to get married and see how much does the average venue cost, how much does the average photographer cost. I made my estimates a little bit higher than what I found because I personally would love to come under budget and have extra money than to be like, oops, everything was just a little bit more and now I'm a lot over budget. I think the budget is extremely helpful in eliminating or decreasing your stress during the wedding process. So the first thing I suggest doing when you get engaged is to first pick a venue, because everything revolves around the venue. Because like you might go into this and say, I have a perfect date, we're gonna get married August 3rd. Well, that sometimes just doesn't happen just because of the venues. They book up a year in advance sometimes. And so sometimes you don't have control of that. We got engaged 7 months before our wedding day, and our venue had already booked up almost all through the summer. Luckily, we were really flexible with our date. We just knew we wanted to get married between June and kind of the middle of August at the very latest, just because we knew we were going to be moving before I started school. So my first tip, just be flexible with the date if you can be, because it's going to make the beginning of your process so much less stressful. Make sure you get your venue first, because then you can do everything else with that date in mind. So moving on to my second thing is going and getting a videographer or photographer, or one or the other or both, because they also book up very quickly for the summer times, especially if you're doing an off-season wedding. I think everything's going to be a lot easier for you and less stressful because you don't have to compete with the rush of wedding season. But with that being in mind, photographers and videographers book up very quickly, and that can also be a hindrance in what date you pick. Some people that got married the same summer we did picked their date of their wedding around the photographer, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So whatever is more important to you, getting the photographer you want or the venue, do one of those two things first and then plan the opposite accordingly. The next big item on your to-do list that kind of has to be done pretty quickly depending on how long your engagement is getting a dress picked out. So for me, I think it was a week later I went and I had an appointment at our local boutique for wedding dresses, and so I didn't necessarily plan on picking my dress that day. I just definitely wanted to go look at dresses just in case I needed to go somewhere else to look at other dresses. But just to give you kind of an estimate, and this again probably varies place to place, we got engaged, like I said, 7 months before we actually got married. How the boutique worked that I went to was you try on different dresses and you don't take home that dress, but they make you a whole nother dress like that one. So for me, that dress took 5 months to make. And after I got it back, I had lost 25 pounds. And so obviously the dress was huge. I was literally swimming in the dress. So I had to obviously go get alterations, and those alterations took 2 months. A little bit less than 2 months actually, because I think I got the dress 2 weeks before our wedding day, and luckily everything fit perfectly, and so I didn't have to worry about doing a second round of alterations. But sometimes you do have to do that, so just plan accordingly. Again, I think if they saw that your wedding date was sooner, they would put you on more of a rush, but just keep that in mind. That is also a big thing to get done early. Next, I think you can safely move on to all your other vendors that will be helping with your wedding day, like catering, the cake, desserts, whatever. If you have a bartender, a DJ, stuff like that. Those things don't always necessarily book up as quickly, but I would still recommend booking them far in advance just so you don't have that stress of not getting who you want. My next big tip is to create a to-do list. This saved my bacon because I'm a list girl, and so naturally I just go to making lists. But literally during wedding planning, for me at least, was like everything was just floating in and out and like around, and so just putting it on paper helped me remember things, so I didn't feel like stressed that I'm not remembering what I thought about yesterday. What was it that I needed to do? And so I would just write it on a piece of paper, and I knew that I would remember it because I had it written down. I ordered my list from most important to least important, and by important I mean more like urgent, I guess. So obviously like the venue was number one on my to-do list because that dictated the date that we were getting married, which dictated everything else. The to-do list I think is so important, and I think mine was like 10 pages because I broke it down to every little thing, like down to like I need burlap string to wrap the utensils, like down to that kind of nitty-gritty kind of thing. And again, I started really broad with my list, and then as the months got closer, I made it more narrow and more specific. And so I'd really suggest you doing that too, because I think that eliminates a lot of stress, just knowing you have it in one place. I have watched several YouTube videos about wedding planning and vlogs of people planning their wedding, and even people I've talked to just in general who are married. I feel like love to start on the fun things like decor. I feel like every little girl has a picture in their mind of what their wedding's gonna look like, and once they get that ring on their finger, they're like, I gotta go make it happen. But hold the horses, girls, because this can wait, and this will create a lot of stress if you're trying to buy a decor within the first couple months. And again, this is for people most likely who are going to be engaged 6 months or longer that I'm talking to, because ours was 7 months. So if it's a 3-month engagement, girl, go get your decor because things gotta happen. But for people who are engaged a little bit longer, 6 months, year, more, I would highly suggest waiting on getting decor. From my experience, all the heavy expenses were the first month and the last month of our engagement, because you pay for all the deposits, and then the last month before the wedding you pay for all the final payments for your vendors. So those 2 months have a lot of expenses, and so I would suggest keeping every expense that you can for the middle area of your engagement. I hope this makes sense. But so what I did is me and my mom just kind of kept an eye out wherever we went. I think I should say this first. Create like a Pinterest board or some kind of vision board for what you want your day to look like, and make sure people who are helping you plan know that vision board, because they can keep an eye out for decor. I personally have had my wedding planned since I was like, I don't know, walking. No, but seriously, like since I was in middle school, like late elementary school, I was like, this is exactly what I want my wedding to look like. So my mom kind of already knew what I was wanting, but just showing her my vision board on Pinterest, I literally made a Word document that had different pictures from Pinterest on it, and so I was like, this is what I want. So she looked out for stuff as she went to the store, Hobby Lobby. I also kept an eye out for things so that we could just accumulate decor slowly, rather than just being like, oh my gosh, we need to go because our wedding's in a month and I need decor, and you just kind of buy everything at once. It's nice to kind of spread it out. And the other thing is we waited for deals. We kind of stalked Hobby Lobby. We would go in there and buy like 2 things each. So I'd buy 2 things, she'd buy 2 things, and then we would use the like 40% off coupon or something like that. We waited for things to go on clearance, because that actually happened a lot. I would see something full price, I'm like, that's really cute, but it's a little expensive, and then like a month later it would be on clearance. So that is also the beauty of being able to wait to buy your decor, is that you can wait for things like that and use coupons on a couple items and save more money that way. I think we probably paid at least half of what the decor probably full price was. So that is also a huge money saver, and I think for me, it actually eliminated stress, because I always felt like we were doing something for the wedding. I always felt like if we weren't doing something one week, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be running behind if I'm not doing something. So like just accumulating decor slowly made me feel like every week or every couple weeks we were doing something to make the wedding happen. The other big thing is registering. I think some people make the mistake of not registering for enough, and I feel like we did a good job registering. They say you should register for 2 to 3 times as many registry gifts as you do have guests invited to the wedding, because you think spatula, someone's not just gonna get you one spatula, they're gonna get you several other things, and that might be a bridal shower gift. So if you have a bridal shower and you have your wedding, you have to think that they're getting you gifts for your bridal shower and most likely for your wedding as well. So you want as many gifts on your registry as that you want, I guess, but I think having more is always better. I love when I look up a bride's registry and there's like tons of stuff to choose from. I'm like, okay, this is so fun. Because personally, I'd never like to buy things that aren't on the registry unless I really, really know them well, because I would just hate for them not to like it, you know? So my tip for that is just register for like everything that you might need, and you might not get it at all. We didn't get everything that we registered for, but we did get everything we needed and wanted. So I think just having a wide variety of registry items is very helpful for you and your soon-to-be husband, and your guest will appreciate it as well. Another thing that's big is invitations. You do not want to wait to the last minute to get invitations, because handing them out actually takes a long time if you're handing them out. I handed out as many as I could just to save money on postage, and I mailed as many as I needed to only, just because it gets expensive buying stamps and stuff. So I would suggest getting those out 2 months before, but make sure they're in your hands at least a month before that, just because it takes a long time to adjust them and all that kind of stuff. That will cut your stress as well. I think doing all those little things in the middle period of your engagement is nice, because you don't have to stress about getting them out while you're trying to figure out all your last minute details for decor and everything like that. So okay, now I'm just going to talk about like the last month, 2 months, maybe even 2.5, depending on where you're at in your wedding process. So what I did in those last couple months, the first month was very busy. I felt, maybe the only time I felt stressed was the first month, just because I wanted to get everything booked so that I didn't have to worry about it anymore, and I wanted the people obviously that I wanted. I kind of knew what venue I wanted. I definitely knew what photographer I wanted. So I was a little bit stressed, I guess you could say, about getting them. But once I got them, no more stress. Do as much as you can during the middle of your engagement, because the last 2 months I think could possibly be the most stressful, just because you're trying to perfect every little thing. At least I was. And so just getting as much as you can done before that last 2 months I think is going to be really beneficial to you and to everyone around you, so you don't become bridezilla. But the last couple months we just had a couple arts and crafts, I guess you could say. I had someone actually print, and I forget what it's called, but they're like stickers, but they're written out. I'll put pictures right now. But we had them printed. One of my mom's best friends printed those for us, and so they were really easy, and we could sell our decor that those were on because they were just stickers. You can just peel them off and then sell them. So that's kind of a bright side of not writing on it, because some things are permanent that you write on. Anyway, so that was kind of our only really arts and crafts. We did tie napkins, and I think we have a picture of that. If we do, I'll put that in there as well. And there was little things like that, like the hanging pictures. I'll put all of our arts and crafts stuff up. But we did all of those, I think we started 2 months before, and we got all those done fairly quickly, but things do take longer than you estimate. I did not think that tying the napkins would take that long. I was like, okay, we'll just sit down one night and just knock it out. No, it does take a long time. Always give yourself more time for arts and crafts. My cousin, she was like, oh, we just have a couple arts and craft things to do, and she was super stressed the week of her wedding, and so she told me, do not wait on arts and crafts. So that is a piece of advice I could give you from her perspective. Okay, I think that is going to be it for this video. Again, like I was saying, I'm going to do a part 2 to this video about the actual wedding day itself, and I'll throw in any little nuggets that I forgot to put in this video in that one if I think of anything else. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys found it useful if you are currently planning your wedding or you are watching this with a wedding in mind. I hope this helps. If it did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me comments about your wedding planning experience or any questions that you guys might have for me. I think I'm in a unique situation of brides that can say that I was not stressed at all on our wedding day or planning our wedding. I just found it very enjoyable, and so I just want to help people out and try to give tips to help eliminate the stress, because I do know it can be such a stressful time for many different reasons. But I hope this video helps, and I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!